everyone, and happy Thursday. I am one day late today, but I am not letting this week go by without getting some content out for you guys. And really, not just any content, but content that I feel is worth talking about. So, my name is Maria DiPoce. If you are new to my channel, I am a real estate coach. I predominantly help people build that real estate business, like the part of their business that feels messy, specifically around systems and models. When someone is an agent, maybe they're doing like 35, 40 units a year, they're looking to grow, and they just quite haven't figured out how to get past that level. So today I am talking about one of the models of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, which of course I love, and that is the organizational model. So let's jump in and I'm going to share my screen and we are going to go through some of the moving parts of the organizational model because I'm here to tell you a lot of you are building it wrong. I'm sorry. I said it. It was out loud and it's true. So this right here is the seventh level organizational model of a millionaire real estate agent. So what you are looking at, I'm going to explain it and then I am going to break it down even more as much as I can for you, is what it looks like to build a $1 million real estate business that is grossing $1 million in real estate commissions. Now, at this point in level 7, what you're looking at, typically when I'm coaching agents that are at this level, they're grossing anywhere between, a minimum of 2 million all the way up to, golly, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 million, probably in gross commissions, because now you're talking, these teams are doing thousands of transactions. There is a local hub, which is this team right here. And then there's a bunch of expansion hubs. So those are expansion businesses that are bolted on to the local business. So you have the CEO. That is the person that, of course, started the team. We're going to go back here in a little bit so you can see how all of this builds out. Below the CEO, you have a director of operations, which is overseeing a transaction coordinator team and the listing manager team. Off to the side over here is a director of lead generation, which actually starts as an ISA, which stands for inside sales agent. Now, at this point, they have forked off into two different lead generation models, whatever you want to call it, which is an outbound sales agent and an inbound sales agent. So outbound is set to make calls to set appointments, right? They're calling out of their database. They're calling out, reaching out to the general public to get business in. Inside sales agents are dealing with lead inflow. And then there's outbound sales agents and more inbound sales agents. On the other side, this is your director of sales that is overseeing. They might be in production. They might be area directors at this point. Just kind of looks different for different people. But this is where your buyer's agents, your listing agents, your showing assistants are at. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people think that you have to go 7th level. If you've been with KW for a while, you've studied the model, you've read the book, may have heard that you have to go 7th level to remove yourself from the business, right? And in fact, I said something early and I said it wrong, so I'm going to correct myself. This is not you. This is you. That's funny, it says you. You started the team back in the day, and you have actually at this point hired a CEO to help you operate this business. Now, let's fast forward. So let's go backwards to go forward, which sounds counterintuitive, but it'll make sense. This is where everyone starts, okay? If you are on the path to becoming a $1 million real estate agent, there is no bypassing level 1. You cannot skip that. You have to go through it. Now, what do we need to master? We need to master lead generation. We need to master capturing, converting appointments. We need to get really good or master presentations to buyers and sellers, showing buyers and marketing sellers, writing and negotiating contracts, coordinating sales to closing, managing the money, and the mindset and the vision. All right. These have to be areas of mastery before you move into the second piece of building this team. So the second level would be your first hire. So your first hire would basically be an admin. And a lot of people get this wrong. So I'm going to slow down here a little bit for you guys, because a lot of people, what they do is they'll hire a sales agent at this point. And you guys, if you want to be held hostage to your team, then please do it the wrong way and go ahead and hire a buyer's agent at this point. If you want to build a business that is scalable, then what you want to do is you want to hire an admin. That is the first hire that you want to make. So before hiring any person into your business, here are some things to pay attention to. Always, you are always going to lead generate for talent. We're going to be looking for potential talent, emerging talent, and proven talent. You need to consult your budget model. So you need to know what your budget is for this position, and you need to know the cost and expected ROI for each one of your hires. All right. The cost of a bad hire, typically, what I've heard is 6 times their salary. So do some math. That is not something that you want to be a part of. At this point, you are hiring your first admin. A lot of people ask, well, how do I know that it's time to hire the first admin? Which I often say, well, when did you realize it was time for you to hire a house cleaner? At what point did you go, maybe I shouldn't be out there mowing my own lawn? It is time now for me to hire someone to come do that so that I can focus on income generating activities, right? It's where you feel like your time is more valuable than the activity that you are doing, right? Clean a house is like $200. My per hour is much, much higher than that, right? So that's how you have to think it through. Now, the areas of mastery here are training and accountability. And honestly, I think at this level, you're also really mastering how to be a leader. And it's the beginning of that. You are starting to figure out, like, how do I lead someone? How do I make sure they show up the right way? How do I have to show up in order for them to show up? Now, pro tip, until you have an amazing administrative person, don't hire anyone else. Okay. By the way, this is not a transaction coordinator. A lot of you guys have already hired a TC at this level. So we don't hire a TC over here. This is a full-time admin, right? At this point, you are probably doing 35 to 40 units a year. You might need an admin before you get to that. The biggest thing is you want to have it in your budget. And so what I always tell the agents that I'm coaching is if you are on your way to know you're going to make that higher that year, and maybe you're going to make it when you're between 20 and 25 units. I mean, some of you guys' price point is so high that it would make sense to make it even sooner. Then what you would do is you would reserve a piece of that commission in a business savings account. So when you make that higher, you immediately have the money available to pay for their first 90-day salary. And you don't have to worry about what that's going to look like, because if you hire the right person, they are going to help you go find a business that is ultimately going to pay their salary. I know I'm going really fast and some of this stuff is so good. Like I'm dropping nuggets left and right, but you can always pause it and listen to it again. But there is a little bit of nuance to that. Now, the third level is your lead admin hires a transaction coordinator. So you might find yourself here at level number 2, like you might bypass 2 and go 1 to 3 because you already have a TC. The difference between 1 and 3 is that in 1, you are managing the TC. In 3, the lead admin is managing the TC. So they're no longer your responsibility. And you really want to learn this at a high level, the going too deep, which is what's on the slide. Going too deep means you are never going to get the job back. What that means is that your lead admin is trained on all the TC stuff. So if your TC, something happens, no worries, you're not going to get that job back. Same goes for the lead admin. What is the lead admin doing? The first thing I would have my lead admin do is make an SOP of all the things that I'm telling you to do. Like I'm talking, then this happens and this happens, then that happens and this happens, like an SOP, right? A standard operating procedure. So that way I don't ever have to get the job back because I can hand that to my transaction coordinator maybe temporarily and say, hey, what things can you help me with on this SOP? I know you're a TC. I know you don't do some of this other stuff, but can you give me 30 days? You know, I'll pay you XYZ to just hold me over until I hire a new lead admin. So systems, you got to think big, and then you have to learn how to succeed through others. I started talking about this a little bit when I was talking about making your first hire. You guys, it's so important that you figure out like how to motivate people through their own goals. Like what are they trying to accomplish and how is what you want a byproduct of that? If you are just barking orders and you are telling people do this, do that, blah, 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 it's not going to last long. If you are not showing up as the leader that they want to follow, it's not going to last long. A lot of times when we walk into situations where it doesn't work, it's because our DNA is all over that. We should take accountability and be accountable to what happened. Level four. I wish I had one of those like, because like literally this is where people mess it up. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly where people make a mistake. And then their team, they are hostage to their team. They wake up every day having that knot in their stomach. And here's why. In level four, part one, these are models and system, guys. I didn't come up with these. Keller Williams did hundreds, thousands of studies, interviewed thousands of real estate agents that had become millionaire real estate agents, and they figured out this is what was working. Okay, this is what's working. Fourth level, part one, you are hiring a showing assistant and a lead manager, OSA, ISA, pretty much at the same time. I would say that if like I'll let you like as a coach, I'm like, okay, listen, if you like know that you have a showing assistant like ready to go, sure, hire them, but then like immediately hire this lead manager. It is so important. If you are building a team and you are showing up to the market going, the reason why you want to join my team is because I'm going to provide leverage for you and you are not willing to provide leads, I am sorry to tell you that you are going to be held hostage to your team for the rest of your life until you figure out the lead piece. Yes, people are on your team because they want the leverage. Absolutely, that is part of the deal. But if an agent is going to come in and is going to give you 50% of their commission, 60% of their commissions, they want more than just leverage. Okay. I don't know. You can argue with me. That's fine. But like, then I'll tell you, then we'll talk about your team and we can see how that's going. Right. Um, it is, I'm trying to look for this piece where it talks about this specific thing because this is like so incredibly important. Another key hire is OSA ISA to launch your lead gen division. Done right, the position has a high ROI. This is a prospecting position, can become the entry level position for both your lead gen and your sales division. It is so important that you make this hire. So, part two is a beefed up version of part one, which is you. You have your lead admin, which will eventually turn in your director of ops, your lead buyer's agent that has showing assistance. So at this point, you are no longer handling buyers. You are here and you're just leveraging off the showing agent assistant piece. Here, you're just leveraging off all of it. And then on this side, you have your lead manager that's handling the OSA, ISA department. And by the way, at this point, you can stay in this place forever. I mean, you could probably hang out here for 10, 15, 20 years, make a great living, never have to scale beyond this, always work with your buyer, always work with your sellers and have a really cool business model. But if you want to go bigger than that, then we're going to level five. And what this means is everything gets like a level deep. Everything starts going too deep. This is where your lead admin turns into a director of ops, but you're still very much sort of in the same part two. You would maybe add a listing agent. And at this level, you are maybe not working with the sellers as much because you have a listing agent, you have a lead buyer's agent. So they're handling the production and you are handling the people. I mean, at this point, you have four direct reports, and that gets to be kind of a full-time job. Six and seven, or level six, is the introduction of an expansion agent. And so at this point, you have to be out of the sales piece as much as possible because your job is going to be to pour into the leaders, to get into relationship. You're in the people. You're in the people business. And this is where it's more important that you spend time with your people and that you build a world so big that they would never not want to be part of than it does that you're representing buyers and sellers. And then, of course, the seventh level is replacing yourself, areas of mastery, vision, accountability, growth, and standards. And of course, check your local real estate rules to see if C-suite terms are allowed in jurisdictions before using them. I don't even know what that means, but do that. And this is what seventh level would look like. You have now completely removed yourself and you are somewhere in Ibiza enjoying a drink. One of the common mistakes I see people making is they go from level three, or I guess level three, into level seven, but they miss that whole ISA OSA piece. right? And so now their agents are going to them going, what am I on the team for? I've learned how to do a transactions. I've learned everything I can from you. Yes, you provide leverage for me, but 80 to 90% of my business comes from my SOI. So what do I need you for? And that doesn't feel like a good place to be, right? Okay. I'm going to put a little cherry on top here. I talked a lot and I covered a lot in a very, very small period of time. And I apologize for that. But there's a lot here. There's a lot that has to do with building a millionaire real estate business. I know this very, very well. I have helped a lot of agents build this. I have consulted a lot of agents. I have coached a lot of agents. So if you're looking at this and this was maybe just your first exposure to the organizational model, that's okay. You learned it. You can watch it again. You can get to know it better. You can ask more questions around it. And if this applies to you and you're a team lead and you're having issues in some of these categories, then let's talk. Let's figure out where those pain points are. I was a team leader at a Keller Williams office for 9 years. So when the agents were having issues with their team lead, they were coming to me and they were going like, my team lead doesn't understand XYZ. And then they would have a meeting with me and they would tell me what was going on the team. And the team lead sometimes doesn't see what's going on with the team because they're in it, right? You're like, you can see the forest for the trees. And I can probably tell you what's going on with your team based on who's doing what and what that looks like and what your organizational model looks like. If you don't have an org model yet, this would be the great time to slow down and put that together. Okie dokie. That is all I have. I'm wearing my pumpkin Thanksgiving sweater in honor of next week. There will not be a video next week because it is Thanksgiving and I'm taking the week off. I hope you found this content valuable. I'm here for you. If you want to get together, go to booktimewithmaria.com and let's get a call scheduled and let's chat about it. Okay, bye.